Hello and welcome to Decoding the New Economy. Today I'm joined by Steve Orenstein, founder of Connect to Field. We're going to be talking about the journey of setting up a business, of going onto the cloud, having a pivot, and then what happens when you get acquired by a bigger listed company. Steve, thank you very much for taking the time to join me today.
Thanks, Bob.
So let's kick off first of all with what Connect to Field do.
So Connect to Field is it's a job management and scheduling tool designed for tradies. So any company that has a team of field workers wanting to be able to take their job information, send it out to the person's iPhone or Android, they get all that information on the device, and they can go through the process of saying they've started a job, finished the job, right the way through to invoicing.
Right. Now this wasn't the original idea that you had for your business.
Look, my very first business when I was 19 was an IT support business.
Yeah.
And part of that business was I had a team of field workers. I had about 10 staff that we were going around Sydney installing computers, fixing networks, cleaning off viruses off customers' computers, that sort of stuff. And during that business I saw it was an absolute nightmare being able to manage all those field workers, manage the job sheets, be able to invoice my customers, knowing where anything was actually up to. It was just an absolute nightmare. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and I realised that I didn't want to be involved in that at all, and I wanted to get out and be involved with software. And so I started building just some ad hoc software, and through that I started seeing an opportunity to do some work in the job management. And from the knowledge that I had of all the problems I had in the previous business, I could see there was an opportunity to build a product. And so we started building a product in the early days, and initially we thought about selling it just in Australia. And then I started to see there was an opportunity to be able to sell this to a global market.
Yeah, and that I imagine is one of the big benefits with having the cloud service.
Absolutely. I mean, you can be sitting in Australia and you can have customers anywhere in the world, and any time during the night I can wake up and I can see customers have converted into paying customers, and credit card transactions have gone through automatically. It's great being able to be here and be able to sell anywhere in the world. Yeah.
So you grew it to being selling internationally, and then you started getting interest to sell the company to a larger company.
Yeah. Look, I mean, from the early days to that, there was a lot that happened in that process. But I mean, in the very early days, my goal was to be able to build a global business. And during that process, we had some investors on board. We had some private equity investors, as well as Reckon Limited. It's listed on the ASX here in Australia.
Yeah. And
I would constantly receive emails from VCs through the US that were looking to invest in the company. And then in fact, at the time that Fleetmatics came along, there was 2 companies that were looking to acquire the business. And that happened through a LinkedIn connection.
Right.
I got a request one morning from someone from Fleetmatics wanting to connect with me and wanted to talk about a partnership, and that all happened very, very quickly, and suddenly a few months later we were acquired.
Right. Now you've made the change from Sydney to Dublin. How have you found that?
Dublin's very cold. But other than that, I love living in Dublin. I mean, Dublin's a great city, and there's great people, and Fleetmatics have got a great office there, and lots of great people, lots of very smart people to work with.
So explain what Fleetmatics do, because they're slightly different to...
Yeah, look, I mean, Fleetmatics is in the GPS fleet tracking side of the business.
Yeah.
They track fleets, so vehicles, very similar customer basis to what Connect to Field has. So electricians, plumbers, HVAC, and also some transport companies.
Yeah.
But there's a very, very nice fit between their customers and Connect to Field customers.
Yeah. So with Fleetmatics, they're mainly focused at the United States market or North?
Yeah, in the US, Canada, and also throughout Europe.
Yeah.
In January, we're launching here in Australia and selling the Fleetmatics product here in Australia.
Right. How do you find the different business cultures, Sydney compared to Dublin in Europe?
Look, I think the great thing about the 2 companies is that we both are very aggressive in wanting to grow our businesses. We both move very quickly in what we're doing, and that's been really nice to be able to join a company where you have the cultures that are very similar.
Yeah.
I think if you were joining a business that was probably a lot larger than Fleetmatics is, even though Fleetmatics employs more than 500 people, then it would be difficult.
So in your growth, how important was it to have those early PE investors coming in?
I mean, it was critical for success.
Right.
Without that investment, we wouldn't have been able to to be able to scale the business as we needed to scale it, and that's from a marketing and development point of view. Absolutely.
Yeah. So along with bringing capital into the business, how important did you find some of those investors as mentors?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the key thing in the very beginning, was to raise investment from people that could also be mentors.
Right.
And part of those investors, I formed a board. There's about 5 people on that board.
Yeah.
And there was people from different areas of skills in business, so legal, marketing, sales, technology, and trying to find the right people that could add value to building the Connect to Field business.
Yeah.
And when we went through the whole acquisition process, that was invaluable, having a board there that we could be bouncing ideas about and strategizing how the deal was actually taking place.
So the big push at the moment in a lot of the software industry is towards the mobile side of things, which you guys seem to be very well placed on. How do you see that panning out in the trades and logistics and so on?
Look, I mean, it's for our customers, it's key. It's a key part of doing it. The whole thing of being able to receive job information on your iPhone and Android in real time and be able to communicate that, that's where the real savings that our customers have. We were talking with a customer last week, and we did a case study, and they were talking about savings of $60,000 a year by reducing all the paperwork and not having to do the double entry of data that's having to take job sheets from the field back into the office. Huge savings for businesses.
Yeah. On that, so how important do you see with these cloud services being plugging into other services, so the Xeros, the Salesforces, and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that like integration prior to the cloud and SaaS and APIs was a very expensive thing, whereas integration now with products like Connect to Field and Xero and Sasu makes it so much easier, and the value from being able to take a job and an invoice inside a Connect to Field and have it being downloaded into your accounting system, it's completely seamless.
Yeah, getting rid of all the paper out of the office.
Yes, and like you're saving that business so much time by doing that.
Yeah. So what's your advice to businesses that would be looking at emulating what you've done? What would you say their first starting point should be?
Look, I think I was very lucky in that I had that experience in that first business, and that I knew there was a problem already existed, and I knew that problem inside out because I sat there so many times late at night trying to figure out how to sort out that previous business. And I saw the impacts it had. I saw the impacts it had on the cash flow, the having to employ additional staff to be able to manage all the admin side of the things. Yeah. So I was very passionate about being able to provide a solution to customers, and I knew that what we were delivering was going to add real value to those businesses. And I think finding something that you're passionate about is probably the number one thing, and then the rest will follow.
Yeah, and with the process of finding PE investors or any type of investors, what would be your recommendations there?
Look, it is very hard, and I think particularly in Australia it is hard to raise money. It's getting easier. The key thing for me was making sure that we had a product that was built and we were gaining revenue in the early days. That was important. I think when we took on our sort of the first round of funding, we probably had about 30 or 40 customers, and that was enough to prove that we'd actually built a business and the businesses wanted to buy our product.
Right. So just to conclude on this, Steve, where would you like to see Connect to Field in 5 years' time?
Look, there's no doubt that we're investing a lot of money in Connect to Field, and there's no doubt that we wanted to see it grow. Yeah. We have huge growth plans for the business, so it's going to be an exciting ride and especially for a lot of our staff that are involved, to be able to see it to go from where it is today to being a very large business. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for spending some time with us, and thank you for joining Decoding the New Economy. No